Hello, Kevin. We are live.
Hello,
How are
good
you?
afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.
Yeah, for me it's a good evening, but for you it seems that it's the beginning of the day.
Yep.
Wonderful. Where are you right now?
I'm in Altadena, California, which is just outside of Los Angeles.
Nice. Yeah, we can see with the palm tree behind you and the blue sky. Really nice.
Yes,
It's a
very
beautiful
nice.
setup, huh?
Yeah. Another beautiful day in Southern California, as they say.
Yeah, I can tell, but thank you for this beautiful background. So, Kevin, first of all, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's a real pleasure and honor to be able to interview such a great artist. So, we have a lot of questions for you about your work, about your journey. So, to start, I just want for the people who don't know you, who are you and how did you start photography?
Okay, well, I'm Kevin Cooley. I've been making photographs for quite a long time now, since since I was in university. I started as an international politics major. I grew up in Colorado and I wanted to go out and see the world. And I felt that, studying international politics might enable me to do that, like say work for the State Department or whatnot. But George W. Bush became our president, and I certainly didn't want to work for him. So I had to look for something else to do.
Yeah.
And I had a professor in college who was very skeptical that I was not doing photography, and encouraged me to apply to graduate school. And then I thought about using photography as a way to travel the world and see places. And I went to New York. I went to graduate school at the School of Visual Arts, and pretty much immediately afterwards, I started working for magazines and getting editorial commissions, and I also was pursuing my fine art at the same time.
Nice.
And that's sort of a trajectory that I've been doing until today.
It's beautiful.
Thanks.
No, it's amazing. And I just noticed that you say that you are coming from Colorado, and I
Hmm.
went through your work, and from what I saw, you are mostly doing landscaping. I mean, before, but it was mostly landscaping. Would you say that because I went to Colorado and I saw the beautiful mountain over here, and I have
Hmm.
to say that it's really, really inspiring, and that you feel really, really small when you see that. And what I felt when I saw your work is that you feel really little when we saw your work. We feel like that we are actually a little human in the immensity and the beauty of the nature. So my question is, would you say that it was maybe kind of inspiration to live in Colorado or to be, surrounded by this huge nature?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely inspired by the nature of Colorado. I mean, I lived in New York City for 15 years, and I've been wanting to come back out to the West just to be in the landscape. I was lucky because my wife wanted to go to graduate school in California, so I got to tag along for the ride, and we've been here since. But yeah, landscape is a very important part of my work. Growing
Mhm.
up in Colorado, spending a lot of time in the mountains has definitely influenced that. And I think that we're a very small part of the universe, and my work explores that a lot.
Yeah, I saw that you are mostly try to represent the primal forces of nature. Is that right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So there is the earth, the air, the fire, the water, and this is what you try to represent in your work since you begin. Is that correct? Or was it
Uh,
something
yeah, I think it took me a while to develop that idea, but I started thinking about wanting to make work about the natural world, and there's a lot of stuff to explore there. And I thought if I broke it down into the classical elements, it might be a little bit easier to dissect and make projects about certain ones. So I started with uh, doing a project called what do I call it? Primary Forces, which was a
Mhm.
series of videos that explored all of them together. Like I have wind fighting against uh,
Nice.
fire, or I had a fire on the beach and the tide was coming in, so it's water fighting against fire, those sorts of things. And then I started doing videos specifically about wind, and specifically about air or ether, which is like the fifth element. And then I did a couple of water projects, mostly with video and video installation and a big public installation. And then since about 2013, I've been more or less focused on fire.
Yeah,
Yeah, living in California, it's kind of hard to not think about that.
of course. Yeah, we're gonna go back to this a bit later on because as you can see the background, it's fire. It's the pieces that
I see it.
secured. Yes.
Yes.
So we're gonna go back on this kind of element a bit later. So okay, so yeah, so the primer forces, the element in the nether are really part of your work. And as I saw, it was mostly at the beginning landscaping. And now there is a kind of transformation to something that, if I can say, for me, what you are doing now, it's like kind of scientific, like experience. So my question is, how can you explain this kind of transformation of focus? And are you going back, you think, on landscaping? How could you explain?
Are you saying you see a scientific element to my work? Yeah, I think, I mean, I've always been interested in science, and I think that my work, I wouldn't quite call it scientific, but I think it's starting to visually convey information in that direction. And I actually want to do a lot more of that. And I'm still looking for funding. I have a couple of options for that, but I am going to work with the Forest Fire Research Laboratory in Portugal, University of Coimbra, hopefully this fall. And so what they have there is a giant fire science lab where they reconstruct actual wildfires and study them.
Wow.
And I've reached out to them because I've read a lot of the work that they publish. And to me, I find their work very impenetrable. It's hard to read those scientific papers, and they and I feel that maybe there's something I could add with my work, working together, photographing different experiments and projects, that maybe we could all learn something more. Maybe you could help convey the messages that they're trying to convey, or maybe even perhaps we could learn something about fire itself. I mean, very little is understood about fire behavior, and perhaps through different specialized photographic techniques, such as long exposure or using a very high-powered strobe, we could actually learn a little something about fire behavior and how fire spread, particularly as it comes to wildfire. And that's going to be a major departure for my work, when it's actually bringing an element of real science to the table, and that's going to be very exciting.
No, it makes totally sense, because you are photographing and you have a vision who is totally different of fire. So of course you're gonna learn so much if you are in a fire department in a specialized places, but with your vision and this, I'm sure that you are seeing stuff that other cannot see. With your vision, fire is different. So as you said, it's just gonna be a beautiful collaboration, and you're gonna learn even more about this element, and you can of course bring a new vision to the fire workers. So it's really nice, and you're gonna even have even more credibility to your work specialized into fires for the latest collection we saw, because you're gonna have the scientific and the concrete aspect of it. So it's good. I'm really happy to hear that. It's a really nice project.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it works out. I mean, it'll be exciting for both me and also for the fire researchers. The director of the lab is, I mean, when I wrote to him, he wrote me back like within an hour. I was sort of shocked, just a cold email, because I was like, wow, this seems like a very good place, a very good direction to take my work, and to bring, like you said, like a layer of scientific credibility to it. And I think that the results, should hopefully be visually interesting, and also have a lot more to share scientifically.
No, I'm sure about. So do you think you're gonna go back to landscaping, or are you still doing some landscaping, or is it really a new page for you in your work, focusing on one?
Well, I've been looking at fire. I had a wildfire come to almost burn my house down in a different part of Los Angeles a couple of years ago.
This
And
was
since then, I've been actually going out to a lot of wildfires, more specifically to photograph them with I have a press pass, and then I work with an agency in New York, a photo agency, Redux Pictures, and we place that work internationally. But you know, I'm thinking of perhaps moving away from fire. I mean, I want to do this project I just talked about in Portugal with the Fire Science Laboratory. But yeah, I was a little unclear as to what I'm going to do next and after the fire. I mean, perhaps it's going back to landscape. I think it's going to be kind of hard to do something other than landscape, since that's, you know, something I've been thinking about for so long.
Yeah, I want to go back actually to landscaping, because maybe I can share some of your work if it's okay for you. Or
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing. Like this, we
Please.
can have more insights with. No, because I really felt something really strong when I saw your art. So which this one? Let me see. I think it was. Yeah, this one. Wow. So my question is, first of all, you said that you wanted to do photography to travel. From your work, we can guess that it's accurate. So is it all of this picture based in USA, or are you really traveling in different places to find this kind of empty, will still some touch of humanity and technology, which is always something strong in your work, is there is a landscape with the nature, the wild, the rough nature, but always with some kind of light, remind that we are now present everywhere and we are touching every little part of the planet. So my question is, where, for example, this series, where was it taken? Because it's beautiful.
Yeah, so in this series, it's called At Light's Edge, and I've been primarily working with military flares, using them, firing them off into the desolate landscape, mostly of Wyoming and Montana. Well, that second picture is actually a fire in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
But the lights are a highway, the freeway in the foreground. Okay. That's actually one of my first fire pictures, 2007, I believe. Okay. So, yeah, so I've been working with these military flares, firing them off into the landscape, and like I said, mostly that was in Wyoming, Montana, places like that, where there really are these desolate winter landscapes. I did, however, a couple of years later, do an artist residency on a sailboat in the Arctic Circle.
Oh, wow, amazing!
Yeah, it's called the Arctic Circle.
Oh,
and it's
let me.
I don't know if there's any.
No.
Yeah, there might be a few of them. Sorry, yes, from Take Refuge, which is the
yes. Oh, yeah,
down. Yeah.
Amazing.
This one. Yeah, so that first one, you know, I wanted to work again with flares, and in this particular case, they're marine emergency flares, like you have on ships and sailboats and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, so we spent I think it was 10 days or 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks on a small sailboat. It was 28 artists and 2 scientists.
Wow.
And a small crew, and we sailed around the archipelago of Svalbard, which is technically part of Norway, but it's sort of like Antarctica in that it's like governed by an international treaty. Mm-hmm. And there, like, that's really like kind of the ends of the earth landscape. That second one is sort of, might look like it was there, but that's in Malibu, in Los Angeles. Matador Beach. I put a flare in this cave early in the morning there.
It's just insane, and there is always this contrast between the cold in your work, from what I saw, and this like strong red light who can be also identified as a danger, such as a fire, but over here as a kind of hope. So it's really interesting to see that this red color in your artwork is either something positive or something more negative, if I can say. But it's something that, tell me if I'm wrong, of course, but it's something that is really kind of guide the line in your work. I don't know, maybe it's not, but it's feel like. So.
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking about in terms of the red light. Yeah, you don't. I mean, it's a symbol for distress. You know, it's also like red is for love. You know,
Yes.
it's this very sort of we have a very primal relationship to the color, and especially within the landscape, it can mean different things.
No, it's amazing. So yeah, I think you're gonna have to do some more landscape because you are really good at it.
All right.
Please. Okay, so now I want to know. So we're gonna go through the collection Exploded View, but I want to ask you, how did you start actually NFTs and when?
Okay. Well, I started, like a lot of people, like learning a lot about NFTs last year, and the thinking about it, the environmental concerns, especially for an artist that makes work about the environment, that was like a major sort of hurdle to think about in terms of getting involved personally. And then it seemed like towards the fall, it just seemed like it was the right time and the right moment to get involved. And I reached out to a few of the artists that I know personally that had started doing it.
Can you name
and yeah, well, a couple of them didn't get back to me at all, but I immediately heard from Alejandro Cartagena.
Oh, we love Alejandro.
Yeah, everyone. Alejandro is doing the work of 1 million people in the NFT space, right?
He's really dedicated, yes.
Yeah, we work with the same gallery in Los Angeles.
Okay,
so
nice.
I've known him for a little while, and
amazing.
He was telling me about all the things that he has got going on, and I think I almost fell over when he first told me. But he invited me to be a part of Fellowship Trust. They wanted to collect some of my work, so
yes,
I did that with them.
Okay, so this was your first step. It's you were kind of introduced by someone who was trusting this kind of environment, and he bring you. And I think it's the best way is when you have someone who can show you how it's work and can support you and can show you the way. So it's really nice of him. And with the Rodao Foundation, he has a lot of things going on, and he is helping a lot
of things going on. Yeah, I definitely don't think I would be talking to you if it wasn't for him.
So thank you, Alejandro.
Yeah.
No, so this collection, Exploded View, so it wasn't made for NFTs. It was a collection already created that you decided to. Okay, so let me share it like this for the people who don't know, they can see. And I have to say that the first time that I saw the pictures that Jenny Dao had here, I have to say that I thought it was an astro photography. I have to say. For me, it was because I did an interview of David Dayan, who is a photographer of Astre. No, it's not over here. No. Oh,
is it not on there?
It must be maybe my network. No, maybe I pass it. Okay, I'm gonna just share it over here. 1 minute. Okay, so yeah, I have to say, so I did an interview of this photographer who is photographing the moon, the stars, and of course the sun. And the sun are really, really close, and you can see the fire coming out of it. So I have to say that for the few seconds before reading, when I saw your picture, I thought it was something from the star again. Did you add this feeling too when you produced and you saw the final work, or was it something that Like for you, do you see really fire, or can you see um, this kind of similarity with, for example, an astra or something from the sky?
Well, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of different things going on in these images. Some of them are, in the landscape and you get a sense of the scale, but like the one that Jenny Metaverse has, you have no sense of scale.
Yeah.
And a lot of my work with about fire and smoke for the past couple of years, scale is a very important part of the work. And not giving a reference, say like a small person in the landscape, you really have no sense of how big things are. And I
Yeah.
love that these works can go back and forth between being something
Yes.
that seems micro, something that seems macro.
And
Um, I mean, you can recognize that it's fire, but
mm,
what's the scale? And I think that's the most interesting part for
like,
me.
yeah, really, if we don't have any information, and for
Hmm.
example, if you just show this picture without knowing your work or your yeah, what you do, and just this picture, I can be sure that you can have minimum 5 different interpretation. I'm sure, because it really brings a creativity. Like for me, it was something from the sky, like a big bang or something, but it can be something
Hmm.
so little. And it's amazing the fact, and I didn't really think about this, but you totally blur the scale. You don't know if it's little, if it's big, when, like, where was it taken, if it's with a huge, huge, huge camera as a telescope, as the artist that I did before, that I interviewed before, or if it's something really small that you did a lot of focus on it. This is really fascinating, I have to say. And yes, it's fire. But so, if I said right, for this whole collection, you put fire on purpose to study it and to capture it on different way. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty interesting if I showed you some behind the scenes shots so
Please.
you could see how big it is. Yeah, I haven't decided whether or not I want to share that because I wonder if it will, you know,
Yes.
change it. I mean, they're actually quite small, but sorry, I missed your question. You tell me again.
No, 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 sorry, actually, there were no question. Just to ask you if, yeah, me too, actually. No, so yeah, so if we go back to NFT, so this collection
Uh-huh.
was made before, and so it was the first collection that you published to sell it. I saw that you already sell 3. Let me check. Collection. I don't know where I saw it, but I saw, yeah, so collection. Where are you? You're over
Yeah,
here.
I've sold 3.
Which is good.
Foundation purchased 11 from me, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what 14. And I think there's 30, so there's 16 left,
Mm-hmm.
which
We
is
have one.
you have one. There's still plenty of opportunity to for
Yes.
more
Yeah, we
to
are
be
really
purchased.
proud of it. We are really proud. So why not
That's
another
great.
one? Yeah. There is something that you said does make sense. You say that um, you have consent for the environments. So this, of course, we can see through your work since you start photographing, because you are doing a lot of, how can I say, you are showing to people how little we are, how the environment can be wild, the nature can be wild, and how we should respect it. This is what I saw when I saw your past work, or even this. You are really in the nature, and you want to show the people that we have to be careful. I mean, this is what I saw from your work. But
Okay, that was accurate. Yeah, absolutely.
okay, so there is a lot of people who say that NFTs and crypto and all this process of minting is something who is not sustainable, or it's something who is not ethical and are environmental friendly. So how can you mix, and how can you respond to that, knowing that now you're part of the NFTs? Are you doing some things specially to do the counterbalance? Do you How can you still be environmental concern?
Yeah, that's a very fair and good question. The pieces I had minted with Fellowship has some built-in offsetting that they've done. Um, I'm not 100% sure of what specifically they are, but they've assured me that they're doing certain steps. So that
Okay.
was something. That's where I first got in. That's was like, okay, well, that's
Yes.
good to know. Second, I also feel, that as it gets shifted to Ethereum 2 or whatever they're calling that exactly, you know, that'll be a lot better for the environment.
Normally, yes.
But in the meantime, I feel like the the power of NFTs to reach a large and wide audience, um, and all the other positive effects within the photo community, the art community,
Totally.
that I feel that NFTs are bringing, they can outweigh even now those environmental concerns.
Mm,
And also maybe think a lot about a lot of the things that we do that already like aren't so environmentally friendly.
yes.
Um, like just 2 days ago, I'm an avid cyclist and I was riding my bike. Um, and LA, there's a lot of film production, but there was a big film production and they had created an entire snow scene just in my neighborhood, and it was like, I
When
don't know how
when
many how
February
many tons of huh?
when it's already super warm outside, I don't know how
I
much.
mean, yeah, it's like, it's almost, I don't know, in Celsius, but it's very warm in California this month, and you know, I don't know how much snow, but there was a lot of snow, and it's still there.
What
And
is
I'm like, okay,
energy?
well, I'm like, maybe my NFT isn't quite so bad if I can say something about the environment as compared to this, giant film production that's, I don't know how much, but it just makes me think about like different things that we all do, and I do hope that it gets better, and I'm hopeful for that in terms of the NFT impacts on the environment. But I think
You know,
it's getting there.
exactly, because you said something really right, is that even if you reach a little, some people who saw your work thanks to NFTs and are gonna be more concerned about environment, are gonna be like, oh, this place I want to go, I want to see the beauty of this place, and felt a real impact, it's already gonna be a benefit. So of course what you say is right, because NFTs for photographer, I think it's a really beautiful way to show your work and to have still the legitimacy of being the creator, which is something really special and so new, that finally your work stay your work forever. You are the creator. You can give the
Hmm.
property, but it's always going back to you thanks to the blockchain. And this is gonna be for life. So for that, it's amazing. And second of all, it's a way to transmit and to do a lot of multiplication of it, and to show it to the entire planet. So yes, what you just said, right? Maybe there is a little impact, but if this impact can bring this, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that like the idea of it being forever, you know, is pretty interesting. Like when you make photographs, well, first of all, I should say the audience is way bigger than sort of the
Yeah.
traditional audience that I'm I feel that my work usually uh, resides in. I went to a show yesterday. The LA County Museum has been traveling a show, an exhibition of work from their collection from California.
Okay.
And I went yesterday. I have a piece in the show, one of my controlled burns. And I was looking around to see, like, this is like LACMA. It's a big, LA, California institution collecting art. And I was seeing like what other photographers in that whole show, there's probably 75 people in the
Mhm.
show who were doing NFTs. And there was really only like two people.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of like, oh, wow, this is interesting. There's just like such a different, I mean,
Yeah.
as like active as I become or feel like I've been, you know, involved in the NFT space and seeing who's there, it's like just a small portion of what.
Because you're still
Um,
really early. You're still early, which
yeah,
is
we're still
amazing.
early, but it's like, but I already feel like yes, like here's this show.
Mhm.
There was like 5 or 6 people there. I just like the reach of the NFTs is so much further, and with different collections such as the Metaverse collection or foundation, sorry, fellowship, or
Fellowship.
other collections. These are going to become lasting institutions, and they're
Mm.
very easily accessible, and that's pretty exciting. And the idea of like your work existing beyond your lifetime is also very interesting to think about. Like I think about like work I have in museums, and I've been wanting to do a permanent public art installation. This idea that something would be there longer than me, I think is kind of exciting. And, maybe there's a NFT space is, I haven't thought about it till now, but maybe there's something there for that as well.
For now, everything is starting, and there is a lot of communities that are creating to help each other to make it grow. But yeah, Kevin, you are still really early on it, and it's amazing that now you are in all the media you can be to reach the most people you can, and it's amazing. So just for that, it's really great to have you on board, and I'm sure that you're gonna, by your knowledge and by your conviction, help other people to start and to believe in themselves, to show their work and to transmit it. So I have one last question for you. What are your upcoming projects, actually?
Well, I did mention, the collaboration with the Fire Science Lab in Portugal. So that's the big thing I'm working on. I'm working on getting funding, so I have to bring my whole family over there, and it's going to be a bit of a ordeal. I also have a residency in Japan.
Oh, nice.
That's I've been wanting to do. It's been a little bit on hold because Japan is not allowing American citizens in at the moment.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that can happen in the end of the year or early next year.
Okay.
And there I am interested in the residency is in the town right next to Mount Fuji. And Mount Fuji is a big wilderness area. And I haven't been to Japan, but I had wanted to investigate how the Japanese organize their themselves around open space, around the wilderness space. In California, in the American West, there's a term called the WUI, which is the urban wildland interface.
Okay.
And it's this it's a high fire zone where there's the human development overlapping with encroaching on open space and forest lands and things like that. And how is that? I'm imagining like in Japan, it's going to be much more organized than the sort of American mess that we have. But I'm interested in visualizing that. So that's the primary focus of that residency.
Okay. Yeah. So it's gonna be work more focusing on the human on a way, no? Because it's gonna be you're gonna show human working in that space, or just the organization.
Well, I should also say that I've been been photographing the urban wildland interface here. I was just in Colorado a couple of weeks ago. There was a big fire there over New Year's. That's actually where I grew up. Basically, the fire started at my high school and burned right next to the two houses I grew up in. So it's kind of interesting that somebody who's photographing fire in their 40s, there's a fire at their childhood place. It's pretty interesting. But I needed to go see that, and I grew up in suburban Colorado, which is far from the forests, and thinking like if that is now part of this urban wildland interface, and this is now part of the high fire zone, if fire can be present there, everything changes. And I've been wanting to investigate more of that space, and so that's something else I'm doing. I'm probably going to do more of that here in California, and then contrast that with Japan.
Wow, it's going to be a really beautiful and strong contrast. So I really wish you that you can go as soon as you can to Japan. Because if you already have been, I used to live there for a few months.
Oh, you did? Oh, great. Yeah. I've never been, so it'll be exciting.
It's my favorite Asian city, and this is a place where I can see totally myself living. Your mind gonna be just amazed. And I think you're gonna be really, really inspired.
I'm glad to hear it.
Okay, so Kevin, so many beautiful projects that are coming up. Thank you so much for your time, first of all, and for all this beautiful insight and your vision. And we are really glad, the Jenny DAO, to have one of your pieces. And I think it's not going to be the last. So please, can you continue to enlighten us with your picture, and your vision about the element and about fire or the water or whatever we follow. So thank you so much, really.
Thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate the.
Have a beautiful day, Kevin. Thank you again.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye, Kevin.